Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Gamewreckers and Slobberknockers. Today, we are here with Coach Woody Blevins, defensive coordinator at Assumption College. Coach, tell us a little bit about yourself.
All right, a little bit about me. Some fun facts. I am a triplet, and within those triplets, I'm an identical twin. So my twin brother is the offensive coordinator at Western New Mexico, D2 school out there. So both college coaches. So
nice. That's definitely, haven't had that one yet, and I don't know if I'll ever have that one again. So you're a triplet and a twin at the same time. Awesome. Hey, tell everybody where have you coached, like your playing experience, things like that.
All right, so I'm an Oklahoma native, grew up in St. Louis, Missouri, went to Lafayette High School, and went to Drake University right out of high school. Had a great experience there. Played there for 2 years, but my twin brother, Buddy, had transferred to Colorado Mesa University, D2 school in Western Colorado. So I transferred there. Best decision I ever made. I finished my career there, played for 3 years, 2 years at Drake, 3 at Mesa. Then I coached for 1 year. Then we all got let go after my first year coaching. Welcome to coaching. Staff got let go. And I went to the University of Northern Colorado as a volunteer. Slept on the bathroom floor for a few months and, got promoted after a year to the GA, defensive GA, assistant linebackers coach, then got promoted the next year to safeties coach. And within that, I did the sports psychology on the team, what we call the mental edge. And fast forward a few years, got promoted to special teams coordinator, and then went to the University of Hawaii as a defensive analyst. Stayed there for an excellent year, second best decision I ever made in my life. And then I came to Assumption University in February. So
nice.
Right in the middle of a pandemic.
Well, and right in the middle of a severe weather change, like you went from Hawaii to New England.
Just slight.
Yeah, well, it sounds like you've had a lot of experience, and you've climbed the ladder kind of the hard way. Sleep it. Hey, you got to do what you got to do if you're gonna chase that dream. I've coached with a couple of young guys. Like, I'd really like to get into college coaching. I'm like, go now while you're single and young, man, because when you're my age and you've been coaching for almost 30 years as a high school assistant, it's hard to make that jump.
Yeah.
So awesome. Who do you think has kind of been your biggest influence as a coach?
Oh my Lord. Gosh, there's so many. I know Jamison Allen. He's a coach in Missouri. The head coach at Macon High School in Missouri. He's been a huge influence on me. Stump Mitchell for the Browns. He's been a huge influence on my brother and I. John Boyer, the offensive analyst at Oregon State. I mean, Nick Roll, the whole staff at Hawaii. Those guys are unbelievable. Nick Rolovich. It's the best group of men I've ever been around on a coaching staff. And I mean, even now my head coach and our offensive coordinator here are just outstanding. So, I mean, everywhere I've been able to pull guys. There's a coach down in Mercer University in Georgia, Joel Taylor, huge influence, saved my career. And he and I still talk to this day. And his safeties coach, Mike Adams, who coached him, he's been a huge influence. I mean, I could go on for days, but that's something I've always tried to do is learn throughout this process.
Absolutely. It's great when you have those people you can always go back and count on and ask, like, hey, here's what I got. I have those guys being around, as long as I have here in Ohio. I can call Mickey Hannon or Jim Dimitroff or Jeff Conroy, any of it, Bob DeLong, Ed Minner. I can call any of those guys I've worked for. And I know that they're always going to still help me out and say, hey, have you thought about this? Try that. Things like that. Well, you talked about coaching in the middle of a pandemic and moving from one side of the world to the other.
Yep.
How's that kind of affected, I assume you guys didn't play in the fall?
We did not.
Okay. So is your plan to play in the spring?
It is our plan to play in the spring. Yep.
Okay. So how has COVID kind of changed what your plan was to what you're going to have to do?
I don't know that. I think it's not about exact plans. It's about planning, having your teaching progressions intact, and having a thought process on, okay, no matter what happens, we can still teach these things this way, or we can still get this accomplished. We can just do it a bunch of different ways, if that makes sense. So
right.
You're trying to plan fundamentals, right?
Right.
And it takes it changed a lot about the way that I think. Rather than, we're all excited for training camp. When training camp's going around, well, I know that's changed for me. Like, we would be excited for practice, but we didn't know if we were going to practice the next time we were going to have a practice. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like, every practice may have been our last. So it taught myself and our coaching staff here at Assumption to let go of that and just be grateful for what you have right now and control what you can control.
When are you guys supposed to go in the spring? Do you know?
Yeah, we're supposed to go March through April.
Okay. So my son's an NAIA player at Georgetown College, and they said, he goes, Dad, we're playing spring ball, and I said, okay, when do you start? I'm thinking they're gonna like late March. Okay, February 19th. I'm like, hey,
yeah, I mean,
that's not spring to me. That's winter.
Yeah, we start training camp and all that in February. But the season, the games will take place in March. So, yeah, that's going to be a challenge. And I told our defense, I said, is it going to be cold? Good.
Right.
Is it going to be dark? Even better. It's going to make us. We're going to remember this for the rest of our lives. And you're going to laugh. You're going to laugh about it in 10 years. And we're going to be glad we did it. There's definitely a separation now between the upper levels of college football and the lower ones, because the upper ones, it didn't change much.
Right.
But, you got the lower level schools like us, and a lot of the schools on the East Coast that we had to work the COVID-19 testing center.
Right.
So we're working 20 hours a week in the COVID-19 testing center, taking tests, doing things that we're not really qualified to do or ever thought we would be doing. And now you're putting yourself on the front line.
Right.
When the campus shut down, who were the necessary workers? These guys.
Right.
Football coaches, they were working the COVID-19 testing center so that we could keep the testing center up and running, even though the school was shut down.
Right. That's a great story. We kind of went with the motto, embrace the suck. We stole it from the Navy SEALs. Like, hey, it sucks for everybody, so we might as well embrace it while we got it and just go.
Hey, that's right. Like I tell everybody that came by my station in the testing center, hey, test negative, be positive.
Right. Hey, that's great. I like that. Hey, Coach, when you and I talked earlier, you talked about how much you're into building a culture and developing your players as people. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah. So, it all kind of, it started that's just the way that I was raised by my parents, was to be the best version of yourself, right? Leave this world better than you found it. And, when I talk to recruits and when I talk to our coaches, I told them day one that my mission is to give our players and you coaches a better life and career than you can imagine for yourself. And now how we do that for the players is by teaching them and building them as a person first, a student second, and an athlete third. Because if you really think about it, right? Okay, let's say a young man, a player, he's got, like most of them, have problems with their ego, right? Their ego gets up there. They don't want to meet anybody, right? Mm-hmm. Is that really a football problem? No, because it doesn't matter if I'm Nick Saban. If that kid's ego is up and they don't want to hear what I have to say, it doesn't matter who I am. It doesn't matter who the coach is, because he's not going to get better at football. So really, you need to go the reverse, and you need to work on them as a human being, and better people make better football players. Like the New Zealand All Blacks say, their motto is better people make better All Blacks. Better people make better football players. Better people make better husbands. Better people make better fathers. Better people make better fill in the blank.
Right.
Right. And so when it comes to building culture, building character, culture is a whole separate issue, but building character within your players and making them the best versions of themselves, right? My brother and I went down to Oklahoma, which is where I'm Oklahoma native, right? After a big tornado, was it 2012, 2013, that hit
the one that was near Moore and
Yep. And so my brother and I flew down in the summer, and we felt like it was something that we should do. We should go give back, and we should go help clean up this tornado, right? Right. And so we go down, report to some school, and we go out. And it's a beast. It is. Houses are flat, and we're helping this guy pick up his stuff, helping him. His house is a wreck. And all there really is a couple walls. That's it, and it's just piles of rubble. So you're digging around. But while we were driving there, I'll never forget it. We were talking about character building, how every coach says, oh, we're going to make these guys better people. Oh, you are? Right. How are you doing it? And my brother called me up. He said, well, what are you doing right now to make your safeties at UNC better people? Well, I mean, it's summer. I'm not going to do nothing right now, right? And he was like, don't you think that's the problem? And my brother said this, and I'll never forget it. He said, building character is the most oversold and underdelivered piece of coaching. Oversold. We all sell it and we underdeliver. All of a sudden it turns into, oh, we teach our players how to shake a man's hand. No shit. I hope they know how to do that.
Right.
What about goal setting? Are they just going to join the rest of the world and say, oh, well, I don't set New Year's resolutions because they never work? Like, you understand what I'm saying? Like,
right.
We just
No.
had this conversation with. We just had a unit meeting last night with our defense, and I told the kids, I said, this is your time to reflect, because when we come back in January, you better believe you're setting a New Year's resolution, and we're going to accomplish it. You know, like one of the example I used for the kids is I had a player, 4 years ago at UNC now, his goal was to write a book. You know, a 21-year-old kid trying to write a book.
Right.
And I said, okay, well, we both read up on it. We both researched articles on how to write a book. And I came across an article that said, if you write 1 page a day, every day, you'll have 365 pages. And so that was his goal, was to write 1 page a day. And he wrote 1 page, 300 days. He wrote 1 page or more for 300 days. He ended up with a book like 450 pages. And now it's getting published. The dude wrote a book, but the purpose of this is to show these young men what they're capable of in all facets of their life, right? Because if they're being that consistent and learning that lesson, imagine how it's going to affect how they work out.
Right.
You know?
Well, you know, I kind of like that. Like, you know, I like you said, oversold and underdeveloped. That's kind of
underdelivered.
Underdelivered, right? So, you know, and I think you're right. You've got to have a plan of how, you know, you just can't give it lip service. Like it is, and it is the Vogue thing. Like, we're going to develop character and we're going to build culture.
But what are you doing?
Right. And what are you doing? What's your step? How are you going to get from here A to here B? Like, how are you going to get from there? And, you know, people say, well, we're going to do it. Well, you better have a plan.
Yeah. And we have a calendar. I have a calendar. It's in a binder. I have the documentation for each thing that they're doing. Like, January is goal setting, not only in their personal life, but we set their goals for their academics. And it's not a bunch of goals, man. It's one goal for each in football, one singular goal. What can we work on, right? And then when we get to February, that's financial literacy month. So, like, if you've ever heard of the book Rich Dad Poor Dad, there's a number of things that we do, and we have them read different chapters, like different grades or different portions, different pieces of the book, different levels of financial literacy, because that's really going to be what determines if they're successful over the long run. How financially literate are they? Then March is 30-day challenge month. Like, they have a 30-day challenge. One thing that you can get, like, you want to improve about yourself. Like, and I always pick one to do with a young man. And I had a young man at UNC, and he was feeling homesick, and he wanted to meet people. So I said, okay, well, let's do this. You and I are going to meet somebody new every day, and we're going to text each other their name, where they're from, and how old they are. You have to have those, because you can't just say, hey, and that's it. I want a conversation with a new person every day, right? And we did that together. He stayed, he didn't leave, and he was super happy. And, you know, but like last March when I first got here, one of our young men and I, he wanted to be more consistent. So I heard on a podcast that the best way to be more consistent is to floss your teeth every day. Small discipline that goes a long way. So both of us flossed our teeth every day, took a picture every day of ourselves flossing our teeth.
Nice.
The kids do also. Our linebackers coach learned the ukulele in the month of March. You know, like everybody, you know, everybody, the coaches too, that no one's out of this. It's a 12-month calendar, and every single month we have what we're doing in our personal life, our academic life, and our athletic life.
That's, you know, so the financial literacy thing, I think, even as a high school teacher, it drives me nuts because, you know, my kids here, we're going to have about maybe 60 to 70% go on to a university setting, whether it's 2-year, 4-year. But those other kids, they're going into the workforce. And like, I get that whole financial. I got 2 boys. One's a sophomore at Georgetown College. The other is a senior here at Xenia High School. He's getting ready to make a college decision. So I totally get like, the kids knowing how the financial system works, what works for you, what hurts you. Cause you get into college, I was in college one time and they had those guys, hey, free t-shirt if you sign up here for a credit card. And you see that line going back because they had a t-shirt, free t-shirt. So man, I like that idea. That's a great idea.
And it's not really the nitty gritty, now, I mean, we're starting to, cause we've been with these kids for a year. And, like what we really start with is, what is a budget? What is the word financial freedom? What does that mean? Like, cause people, they'll never hear that except for the business majors, and they may not hear financial freedom, being financially free. What is that? What does that mean? What is passive income? Like, what is an asset? What's a liability? How do you budget? How do you, what is a zero budget? Like those things that are going to serve them for their whole life, just common principles. Like I guarantee you we have the only defensive group message in America where we just had we had a conversation the other day, a kid texted his credit score. Like, coach, I finally did it. He had a goal that he wanted to get to, and he got there.
Hey, that is awesome.
And we got guys liking it, coach. And hey guys, this is what a good credit score is. It's 700 and above, stuff like that. Like just simple things that people don't know. I wouldn't have known when I was their age, but who knows who it could attach to. But that's something that's open with our guys, like, and open with our defense. So, and that's part of our culture,
Right. Well, and then you talked about, the other thing you talked about is the kid that was homesick, wanted to meet new people. Yep. With our society being how we're always like this and we're on the phones, and how you think you have friends because you're friends on Facebook or Facebook, your friends on Facebook, and or you're have likes on Instagram. I think we've lost that ability to have a real conversation, to sit and just talk to somebody that you don't know, and just talk about something and learning who people really are. So that, I like that, Coach. I think you are getting it done there for sure. Is there anything else that you do that's really super unique when it comes to that?
It's the whole year is constant.
Right.
Okay, what are we doing this month? What are we doing that month? And some of it is you can kind of like slide it in under the kids' radar, and they don't even know it's happening in a way. Some of the stuff you want like that. Some of the stuff you don't. Some of them you want them to be hitting them upside the head, like, hey, wake up. This is how life should be, Right. But I think something that we did really well, that we ask our kids at the end of in the middle of every season, we give them a coaching midterm. And so each coach has to give their position group a midterm, and it has a bunch of questions like, am I too positive? Am I too negative? Are there drills that you like that I don't do enough? Are there drills that you don't like that we do? And why do you not like them? And, what things do I need to help you with? What things do I need, so on and so forth. So we can grade us, and we can see, okay, because we got to improve too. If they're the only ones improving and we're not, like so many coaches get lazy throughout the year. So it keeps us kind of fresh, but we do a coaching midterm. And then at the end of the year, in our exit interviews, we ask them 3 questions. We just ask them, okay, if there's one thing on this defense that you would change, what would it be? If there's one thing that you love about this defense, what is it? And 3 is, how do you think you were springing? Does that make sense? We ask them those 3 questions, or your fault, or whatever it was. How do you think it went? And then we tell them how we thought it went. Does that make sense?
No,
so
absolutely.
We give them a chunk, but the one thing we heard the most, the kids, one of the things we heard the most, I'll say, the kids really liked this. So we would do, every day when we do a meeting, we start with the juice, right? Something positive, something funny, something to get your juices flowing. Now, the next thing we do is we go through our values, our 3 values: discipline, effort, and attitude. And then, we have a little catchphrase where I say DEA is our, and they say DNA, right? Because it's not what we do, it's in our blood. DEA or DNA, right? And then we do a gratitude journal: 3 things you're thankful about life, 2 things you're thankful about football. This is every unit meeting. Every meeting the kids ever have for me, they do this. And then at the end of that, we start with the character building lesson. So we knock all that, the gratitude journal, all that stuff, we knock it out in 5 minutes. And the juice and all that, 5 minutes tops. That's all you got to do to keep your culture going. And something that is, something to think about culture is, okay, what are our values? Discipline, effort, and attitude. If you ask a young man what our values are and he doesn't know them off the top of the head, we don't have values. They don't exist. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
They don't exist. So they have to know it. You have to do it every day. So once we get done with all that, then we have a character lesson for 5 minutes. It's just something, and each coach, I allow them to pick a topic. So like our linebackers coach did public speaking. How many of these kids are terrified of public speaking?
Oh, a lot of them.
It's just 1 or 2 nuggets 3 times a week. And then our defensive line coach wanted financial literacy, so we could go kind of more in depth, so he did that. Our safeties coach is a big sports and exercise science major, worked at Landau Performance in Denver where Christian McCaffrey trained and all that. So he's very knowledgeable. So he did that. Then we did, so-and-so, everybody's got their little thing that they do, and the kids loved it. They said it just made us feel like we really cared about us people, that like every meeting, it was just all about me as a person for the first 10 minutes, maybe
Nice.
15. And so that was something that we heard so many times in our exit interviews when we got back together as coaches.
Well, I think you guys putting yourselves out there, I think a lot of coaches are afraid of that feedback because they're afraid of what they're going to hear. And I think the best way you can grow as a coach is to get that feedback from the kids and the kids being honest about it and telling you how they really feel, not what they think they want you to hear.
Yeah.
And, it reminds me a lot of what you're talking about are those little lesson deliveries. Is we used to do a leadership class here.
Yeah.
And we picked a different, like one year it was RUN, and it really meant responsibility, unity, and never give in. But we kept saying, so one coach was responsible for talking about responsibility all the time. And even though it was on the back of a shirt, it said RUN, it was an answer. Are you in, or, are you in? So I like that, Coach. I think you're doing some great things with that one. All right. Hey, so what's the best advice you would give a young coach trying to get into, coaching, whether it's at the high school level or at your level?
Just be ready to, okay, this is it. All right. I'm going to tell you a story. All right. To land my plane here. One of my mentors, Carl Hargrave, coached the Andre Ware's position coach. We won the Heisman at Houston, coached for Denny Green in the NFL, wherever Denny Green was, he went. They're good friends. Right. But anyways, so he'd spent a lot of time in the NFL, high levels of college football. But I got a chance to know him, and I called him when I first got to UNC as a volunteer. He said, hey, Woody, how you doing? Just want to see how I was doing. And he asked me, he said, what do they have you doing? I said, I'm just doing all the grunt work. He said, oh, no, Woody, that's not grunt work. You leave the grunt work for the grunts. Leave the bitch work for the bitches. That's your developmental work. You are developing to be a coach. So after that was literally like 1 week in, and I was like, okay, I got to change my mindset. This isn't grunt work. It's not bitch work. It's your developmental work. You're developing to be a coach. So don't look at it like you're a dang grunt. Grunts look at it like they're grunts. Bitches look at it like they're bitches. You know what I'm saying? So Don't be that. You're developing to be a coach, and that's what that work is, no matter how unfun it is. And when you look at it like that, it makes it not so bad.
Right.
And so I was willing to, and that's one of the reasons I truly believe I got promoted so fast at the Division I level, was that I didn't see this grunt work. There were other coaches on our staff that saw it as grunt work. They were grunts, but I wasn't a grunt. I was a coach, and I was developing to be a coach, and I saw it that way. And I'm glad I did it because, everywhere I've been, every level of coach I've been, I've needed that developmental work that I put in. That gave me so many skills moving forward that a lot of coaches would just get promoted because they know somebody. You know how it is.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's okay. That's everybody's got their own path. Right. But you know what? They're not ready to be a coach.
Right. And I'd be willing to bet that they're going to have struggles along the way, that when you do it the hard way, when you're climbing the ladder, the long path, and you don't get to ride the escalator. When you're climbing the ladder the long way, you learn better lessons doing it that way.
Yeah. And because this is the thing, is what's at stake is those young men's careers that you're coaching. It's not like it's just you mess it up. Like, that's the thing that a lot of coaches don't understand, is you need that developmental work so that when it is your turn and there are 9 young men looking at you to give them a great career and to help them fulfill their dreams and farther than that you don't screw that up, because you will.
Very true.
That developmental work saves it.
Very, very true. The story I can equate to it a little bit is when I got my chance, I had to coach freshman football for 2 years, and I never understood, and then I had to go coach JV on top of it. And I'm like, man, but now looking back, I learned so much more about coaching, doing it that way, and not just getting to jump to the varsity level or having to start at that low thing and just, pay your dues and learn the job. I can't imagine who I'd have been if I'd have gotten a shot on the varsity staff immediately.
Oh man!
Like I think back now, and I'm like, man, I was such a bad those first 3-4 years, I was such a terrible coach. Like, God, how did I survive that? But now when I think about I survived because I wanted to learn how to be better at it, and those things are very valuable lessons. I really enjoy that story. All right, Coach. Well, hey, we're going to wrap up here in just a few minutes. It's that time of the show. We call it Gamewreckers and Slobberknockers for a reason. So tell me, who is the biggest, best game wrecker you've ever coached or played with?
All right, I got to give it to my guy, Connor Wright. He was our defensive end at Colorado Mesa University my first year as a coach. And I got to put it in one game against Dixie State. This man had 7 sacks.
Seven sacks.
And we only rushed 3 the entire game.
Oh, yeah, that will classify you as a game wrecker.
This dude was an absolute game wrecker. Like I was racking my brain since you told me about this. I said, man, I can't think of anybody that would really stick out. Like maybe some guys we played, but not like that. But that dude, I've never seen anybody do anything like that in my life.
7 sacks.
7 sacks, rushing 3 the whole time, dropping 8. Hey, we were playing the 3 high safety stuff that everybody's all into now. We were doing it in 2011 when I was 2010, 2009. We did it at UNC 2012 and up. Like, it's funny that it's so in style right now. And I've been doing it for years. That's the one thing I don't want to do because I've done it everywhere I've been. So.
Well, hey, the funny thing, I tell the story all the time. Hey, if you coach long enough, it's going to circle back around.
Yeah.
Whatever it is, it's going to, like the triple option when I got into coaching in 1992 was right on the end of it. It was right where, people were starting to get away from it and the spread was coming in.
Yeah.
But guess what? It circled back around. Now it's changed a little bit. Now it's in the spread, but they're still optioning somebody.
That's right. It comes back, but it improves a little bit.
Right.
So it does come back. You know what I'm saying? Those guys that stuck with it, they make those changes to adapt and grow. And then, it's the same thing at Hawaii with the run and shoot. My twin brother is a run and shoot offensive coordinator. Like, run and shoot went back down into the lower parts of college football. But, Craig Stutzman, Brian Smith, those guys were at the D3 level, coaching the run and shoot, down in the shadows and putting little tweaks on it that made the run and shoot when it came back to Hawaii last year and we absolutely slaughtered with it. Mm-hmm. That's what made it what it is now. They had these little adjustments and these little tweaks that, brought it back. And man, that offense is something else. It's one of the most fun things I've been around.
It is fun to watch. Kind of a pain to defend though.
Oh man, it is. I mean, the triple option, the run and shoot, they're the same. The run shoot is the triple option of the pass.
Yes.
They're the same. You can't win. You can't win.
All right, Coach. So biggest slobberknocker hit you've ever seen as a player or coach?
Oh, not even Jacob Craig, our safety at Drake University. We were playing San Diego in 2006. So Jim Harbaugh was still there.
Right.
He hit this receiver so hard, he knocked him out. I mean, we stopped the game, Coach, for maybe 10 minutes. He knocked him out, and he knocked the corner that was guarding him out.
Little friendly fire.
Friendly fire, yep.
Oh, man.
It may not have knocked him out, but I think he gave him a concussion. And, but that player never played offense again. He came back and played defense, and the next year he intercepted the pass for 99 yards for a touchdown. But the thing is, he never played offense again.
Never played offense again. Awesome. All right, Coach. So here it is, the concluding segment. It's called Bring in the House. Going to put a little pressure on you. 5 questions, some football related, some not. But just first initial response, no explanations needed. Best college stadium you've ever coached or played in?
CU, Colorado Boulder.
All right. Best over-the-top football movie, any given Sunday or the program?
Oh, the program, no doubt.
All right, Belichick or Lombardi?
Belichick.
Belichick. Awesome. All right, here we go. Skittles or M&Ms?
M&M's.
M&M's, the classic.
Week
I
twice.
like that one. All right, and then now just because you're changing venue, which is better, New England clam chowder or Hawaiian shave ice?
Hawaiian shave ice.
Shave ice all day long?
All day long. I'll take that one to the bank.
I believe it. Coach, hey, I appreciate you. You know, it's been awesome to talk to you a little bit about this. It kind of reaffirms some of the things I think we should be doing more as coaches, especially at the high school level with developing our kids as people first. And I'm willing to bet, Coach, that your kids developing as people first and you helping them get better, that turns them around and makes them better football players in the end.
Well, thank you for having me on. I just want you to know I appreciate you asking me.
Hey, Coach. Hey, anytime you want to come on and talk ball, I'll be more than welcome to have you. Guys, I appreciate you listening to this episode of Gamewreckers and Slobberknockers, and we'll catch you next time.